just play a pop song, singing to that highway song. Got a little naive smile, the kind that drives you out. Nothing like playing with fire, brings boy to life. Beat you with a fuse you light, you're good, dynamite. You made my day when you walked into town beside me, whispered with your eyes, let's go. You made me say what's your name, girl, you're lonely. Can I call you if I ever go down this road? And I can't seem to find the thing I want to say.
The people of Tempe, Arizona have spoken, and the Arizona Coyotes look like they're on their way out of Arizona this time, finally for good. Problem is, has Gary Bettman, is he going to listen this time around? All this and more on today's 1420 in the morning.
The following is a presentation of the Belly Up Sports Media Network.
1420 in the morning, 14 minutes and 20 seconds where the sports talk to get you through your daily commute. Hot takes, recaps, best bets, and a little humor to get your day going in the right direction. Sit back, grab your coffee, and let's get into it. All right, 14:20 in the morning for this 17th day of May 2023. Today's show is brought to you by Righteous Felon Jerky, righteousfelon.com. Go to use promo code Belly Up at righteousfelon.com today for 15% off their craft beef jerky. They are the official supplier of beef jerky to the Belly Up Media Network, which we are very happy to be a part of. Also, thank you for making us a part of your morning each and every morning here at 1420 in the morning on Facebook Live and YouTube Live and everywhere else. And you guys know where you're listening to us, and people who listen later on the original, the podcast form of our show. Anyways, well, this finally might be the end of the Arizona, Phoenix, Tempe, whatever, Coyotes, whatever you want to call them. After 27 years of striving for mediocrity and rarely attaining it, it's been a pet project of Gary Bettman's for quite some time. Hasn't gone well for the Coyotes over the years. Gary Bettman's been trying to, he's a commitment to keep that franchise in the greater Phoenix area for a long time. It's been a failure from day one. Pretty much they've had more success getting people bankrupt than they've won playoff series. They've had 7 playoffs or 7 owners and 9 playoff appearances over the years. It hasn't been good. They've been here, they've been there, they've been everywhere. The latest embarrassment was when they played in the Mullet Arena at ASU this past year, the 5,000 seat arena. They've had more bankruptcies and playoff series wins. There's nearly many ownership changes as postseason appearances and the like. It has not been good. Last night, the people of Tempe, Arizona voted no to a new facility in the Tempe area right near the Sky Harbor airport. They said, no, we're done. We're not doing this. We're out. That's enough's enough. We don't need to be doing this anymore anyway, anyhow. It's a done deal now. So it looks like they're going to be leaving. Gary Bettman had a statement last night saying they were disappointed that the people of Tempe would not agree to an arena. They're going to meet with ownership of the Phoenix Coyotes or Arizona Coyotes or whatever they're called this week, that they're going to be leaving and saying, see you later. So Bettman was going to still try to hold the lifeline out there for the people of Arizona who, to a person, haven't carried since day one. They've had some, when they were downtown Phoenix, they did get some good crowds out there, but then when they moved out to whatever town that was, they said that people weren't watching there. People weren't going to the arena. They got bankrupt there. They got locked out of their building. They got told no more. See you later. Get out. So that's how they ended up in the 5,000 seat Mullet Arena, which isn't an NHL arena. They put 19.8 million bucks in it before the season started last year to make it NHL quasi ready, locker room additions, training facilities and the like, to make it a quasi NHL building. But it didn't turn out well for them at all at Mullet Arena. They had a good record at home, bad record on the road, and everything else. But it's a done deal. It seems to me that this is the final nail in the old coffin, I guess you could say, for the Phoenix Coyotes in Arizona. And it's been a project that's been a failure since day one. Why Bettman has decided to do this for this long and hold on to something that wasn't there for this long is a mystery to everybody throughout the hockey world. Other than Gary Bettman, no one's been able to to answer this. Maybe that's a thing to successful businessmen, I guess. When you have a project and you have something you're passionate about, you keep doing it and you go out there on a day in day out basis and keep trying to make something work. Kind of like podcasting, I guess, one of those deals. But this hasn't worked in Phoenix for a long time, and the people of Phoenix have finally spoken and said, "That's it, no more, no mas. We're done." You got to think what happens now. Bettman's, like I said, he's going to try to keep that team there and try to go to every last possible way to try to find a way. But I think what's going to happen is the team is going to move. I think they'll play one more year in Mullet Arena. They have 4 more years left there, 3 and an option year if need be, because they were hoping that the Tempe building was going to get built, and that's the time frame that would have made that happen, because it's a 5-year building to get that thing done. So they figured that the people of Tempe would have voted for the building to get built, but they said no. So now the Arizona Coyotes are going to be no more. They'll play one more year, I suspect, in Phoenix and call her good at the Mullet Arena. They'll call it good after this upcoming season and say that's it. There's a couple options out there that they do have. The one option that everybody's been talking about for quite some time is to move into Houston, where the Rockets play, but the Rockets ownership isn't really that keen in owning a hockey team. They would rather just have a team that has. They want another tenant in the building, but they don't want to own a hockey team with the expense that comes with it. But they also don't want to give up the dates, because the ownership of the Houston Rockets owns the building that the Rockets play in. So they just want all of the proceeds and all of the proceeds that come with having a hockey team, all the beer sales, all the parking and everything, all the perks that come with having a tenant in your building, like being a slum landlord, I guess is one way of putting it. Spend no money, but take it all in is what the ownership wants to do with the building in Houston. But lately the biggest rumor has been the move to the Utah, where the Utah Jazz play. They already have a building there that's got 14,000 seat arena. It's ready for hockey, and apparently the owner there has some pretty deep pockets. He's got a few $1 billion in the bank, and he can go and he said he's met with Gary Bettman in the last few weeks about getting an NHL team to the Utah area. Not a rich hockey tradition there. You got to talk about the Utah Golden, or I can't even remember what they were called back in when they were the Flames farm team back then. The Fighting Eagles, the Flying Eagles, or something it was called. I can't really, it doesn't much matter. But you think that might be a good move for the Phoenix Coyotes to go just over to Utah. State's right there. They can stay in the Central Division and the like, and have that rivalry still stay there, and they have instant rivalry, obviously, with Colorado, a neighboring state right there. So that wouldn't hurt that team at all, just moving into Utah. The building's ready to go. They would have a fan base. Hockey's not huge in Utah, but it wasn't obviously huge in Phoenix either. And it just hasn't worked there in Phoenix since day one. But moving to Utah makes complete sense. Could this be a situation where they just move overnight and do a Indianapolis Colts situation from years ago when the Baltimore just up and went with the Mayflower moving trucks, moved in and said, see you later? It wouldn't take much for the hockey team to move to Phoenix. I don't suspect that happening anytime soon. But if it could happen, I'm sure that lease agreement that the Coyotes do have with ASU and with the Mullet Arena, and however that all worked out, I think that would get ripped up by lawyers pretty quick if the ownership said we're out and here we have an option and here's what we're going to do. I don't think there'd be any owners around the National Hockey League that would say, yeah, no, we don't want you to leave Phoenix. We want you to leave Phoenix for years, but Gary wouldn't let it happen. So I think that lease agreement that they have would probably just go away with some lawyer speak and everything else, and a couple of bucks here and there, and pay a fine. I mean, $20 million is not to these guys. It's not a huge ordeal. Let the owner be a minority owner. The guy, whoever owns that team in Phoenix now, like I said, they've been through 7 ownership changes since they've been there, and whoever the guy is now, just let it happen and call it good. So you wonder if it's going to happen sooner rather than later. They were going to try to have some conversations with the people of Phoenix and the ownership group and everything else, how it would all work out in the end. But I think this is probably a good thing for hockey. It hasn't been a good thing for a long time. And the rumors about that team moving to Atlanta and moving to Quebec City, I think those were just someone blowing smoke up someone's rear end, because it was never going to happen. Moving to Atlanta for a third time would have been a huge mistake. Why? How that rumor even came about? First, you had the Atlanta Flames back in the 70s that didn't work out, and now they're the Calgary Flames, obviously. And then you had the Atlanta Thrashers that lasted all of 3 years, and now they are the Winnipeg Jets. and then team moving to Quebec. Yes, they get good crowds for their junior team, getting great crowds for their junior hockey, obviously, but it's just not a fit for the National Hockey League at this point. I think you need to keep that team in the Western Conference somehow, keep the division split or the conferences split the way they are. Things are working out right now with the 32 teams, and I think moving to Utah would be the best bet for that franchise and maybe for the ownership, and give those players who play for that team, as who may have signed long term, a chance to maybe do something and feel like they're in a National Hockey League team. But getting out of Phoenix, it's a right now thing to me. It's if they can move them tomorrow, it'd probably be better for that the team, like on the NHL side of things, because then they have a chance to maybe go and sign some free agents and the like, because who's going to sign with the Arizona Coyotes in the next couple of years, not knowing where they're going to play or what league, where they're going to set their families up and the like. You got to think there is still a human element to these hockey teams and to these players, that they want to have some stability and where they're going to sign and how they're going to move forward. Because guys like playing the National Hockey League. Obviously, they love playing the National Hockey League, but playing in front of 5,000 people isn't really playing in the National Hockey League. When you see a lot of junior teams right now getting huge crowds, and they play in front of a lot more people than the Arizona Coyotes did last year at the Mullet Arena. You wonder how this all would have panned out in the foreseeable future if you go back a week today, actually, when they had the draft lottery, the Connor Bedard sweepstakes came around, and you wonder how this all would have panned out if Connor Bedard would have went to the Phoenix Coyotes or Arizona Coyotes. They keep calling them, what does it call them, the Utah Coyotes, or what the team would be. Who knows what they would call that franchise now? But you wonder how this all would have panned out if Connor Bedard would have ended up as an Arizona Coyote, if he would have ended up maybe being a Regina Pat for another year, or maybe gone overseas and played pro over there and not been part of this debacle that Gary Bettman created over the years. Because it's been a debacle since day one. It hasn't been good. It hasn't been a success by any means. Like, some guys love it. You wonder, like a Shane Doan kind of guy. He's been a legacy guy there since day one. He was one of the original guys that came over from Winnipeg. He set up shop in the area. His kid and on, I think, signed there and everything else. So you wonder how this all would have played out if there would have been a kid like Austin Matthews, who grew up in the Phoenix area, and he's one of the best goal scorers in the National Hockey League right now. If he would have even put skates on. So the legacy of hockey is there in Phoenix, in Arizona. Is it a great legacy? Obviously not. Is it time to put a nail in the coffin? It is really time to put a nail in the coffin and put an end to this whole debacle that Bettman just held on to for far too long. And it's just been an embarrassment to the league for a very, very long time. And I'm glad that the people of Tampa finally said, you know what, we don't need it. We're not hockey people at all. We just aren't. We don't need it. We don't love it. We don't need the money being spent on that. We can spend money elsewhere. And for a hockey team, yeah, it would have created jobs and everything else. But you know what? There's other ways to help the economy. I'm all for buildings getting built for the right reasons. Like in Calgary, they do need a new one, because the people of Calgary love the hockey team, and they do support it throughout the province. But the people of Phoenix, which is the fifth biggest city, like the greater Phoenix area is the fifth biggest metropolitan area in the United States. So like there are people, but the people have spoken time and time again to not go to hockey games. They just don't care, and that's just the way it is. The university sports are huge there. Their football team draws good. Their basketball team draws good. Hockey's just not a thing that the people of Arizona to a person care about. And Gary, I think it's time that you finally listen to the people of Arizona and say, yeah, I was wrong. After all these years, we explored all our options. We did all we could to get this thing going in the right direction, but it didn't work for us, and it's just time to move on. Anyways, there's my rant for the day about the Arizona Coyotes. Hope that's the last time we have to talk about them, other than them putting the for sale sign up on the door, or the vacated the premises sign and see you later. We left. Hope that's the last time we hear about the Arizona Coyotes going. Make sure you guys, and like I said, make sure you guys go to righteousfelon.com and go to get some Righteous Felon jerky, the official supplier of beef jerky to Belly Up Sports Network, and use promo code Belly Up for 15% off their gourmet beef jerky today. Who do we got today for birthdays, and on this day in 1998, David Wells threw a perfect game versus the Minnesota Twins at Yankee Stadium in the Bronx. Legend has, it's not even a legend, this is a true story. Wells attended the Saturday Night Live after party and stayed a little later than expected. Got home around 5:30 in the morning. Got down to the ballpark. Was literally he was shaken, not stirred that morning. He was told by David Cohn to maybe go and hide a little bit, get out get out of harm's way, hide from Mr. Torrey. He was a little worse for wear from the party the night before. Lots of water, coffee, and gum, he said, and 10 trips to the can. Bad bullpen where he couldn't throw a strike, he said. He started the game hungover like no other, he said. And but anyways, the rest is history for Mr. David Wells as he threw the 15th perfect game in Major League Baseball history. The stat lines: no runs, no hits, nobody on, with 11 strikeouts. And Mr. David Wells kept the party going that night after the game. As he said, he went out and tied one on a little bit and got into her once again, and was out till 4 a.m. the next night, or that Sunday night, celebrating, painting the Big Apple all red and everything else. So on this day in 1998, David Wells with the perfect game. And there's Mr. Paul O'Neill catching the last out of the game for the perfect game. So kids, don't follow Mr. David Wells's footsteps, but he did it, and so can you. Never give up on your hopes and dreams. And happy birthday too, Pascual Perez, born on this day in 1957 in San Cristobal, Dominican Republic. Perez pitched for 11 years in the big leagues, Pittsburgh, Atlanta, Montreal, and the New York Yankees. 67-68 record, 3.44 ERA, 1,244 innings pitched. Best known for his eephus pitch that sometimes didn't go as hoped. A lot of times I remember trying that as a kid, the old eephus pitch. Died a horrific death, if I recall correctly. There was a robbery in his home, in his apartment in the Dominican, or his house in Dominican, where some burglars broke in and they busted his head open with a hammer. It's not really what you want to hear first thing in the morning, but that's one of those things that happened. Back in 2012, I think it was, when he was beaten by burglars. Yeah, he was beaten to death with a hammer. It's not a good way to start your day anyways here at 14:20 in the morning. Anyways, thank you very much for listening and watching today on YouTube and Facebook Live. And make sure you guys follow our show on Twitter and Instagram. We're trying to get there a little bit more, but also make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel today by hitting that little button right down there. And also make sure you listen to the podcast, download it, talk to people about the show. We appreciate all the support we're getting. It's picking up steam once again. We had a little bit of a lull there. It happens every year. People get outside and don't have me in their ears. I don't blame you sometimes, but if you can keep listening to the show, be greatly appreciated. Also, go to our website and get yourself some 1420 merch. It's greatly appreciated for all the support that you give us throughout the day and each and every day here at 1420 World Headquarters. Anyways, as always, it doesn't matter where you are, it's who you're with. We will talk to you tomorrow.
SeatGeek is the ticketing app for fans like the High Five Strangers guy. Game-winning interception. First down. Just a nice, solid tackle. If you're in arm's length, you will be swapping skin with this extra berth. You see, he knows SeatGeek got him a great deal on tickets, so he can focus on what he does best, smacking palms. SeatGeek handles the tickets to sports, concerts, and more, so fans can fan.
You just listened to the 1420 Sports Bar Podcast. 4 beer with sports talk and a whole lot more. We are part of the Belly Up